Hello guys, how are you doing? I hope you are all good and everything is fine at your side. Welcome to the new video for this week in the market. It's a work week 46. As I always like to start with the economic calendar, and if we look at this week, so today, Monday, we don't have any major news happening. I believe like the big news is starting from tomorrow. So if we look at it, like we have the biggest news of the day, like we have a big news on the GBP. And then later in second part of the day we have like a big news on the USD, which is simply related to the CPI. Then on Wednesday we have some news about the Australian dollar, GBP again, and then a lot of news on the US dollar. On Thursday we have like three news on, or I believe two news on the Australian dollar, and then news again on the USD. And then on Friday we have some news on the GBP. What does it mean? It means like we would see the major, let's say, movement in the market happening on the GBP, USD, and Australian dollar. Why? Because we can see that there are a lot of fundamentals. It's very important to have this in mind when simply you are planning your week in the market, right? Let's start with the DXY, and let me do it that way. So if we start by this week, if we start by this chart, I would say, on the weekly time frame, we can see that these areas, which are called prospect weekly zones, in yellow zones, or let's say in the red ones. So the red one is the strongest, let's say, zones or areas. The yellow is, let's say, medium one, and then the green one is still zones, which are kind of, I would say, kind of weaker than the yellow and obviously weaker than the red one, right? So it's very important to keep that in mind. Okay, what are these zones for the people who don't know? So these zones are kind of like zones which I do find in the market, which is simply kind of like can be treated as resistance and support in the meantime, right? Okay, if we look at the weekly time frame, obviously if we look at like, I don't know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so for the last, actually starting even from here, for the last 7 weeks, we can see that it's very slow movement when it comes to the DXY, right? So here, doji, kind of, let's say you can call it shooting star, another one, still pin bar, doji, and then 2 weeks ago, we could see a big movement, right? Where simply the price broke below this area. As you can see, this yellow area, it was kind of holding here as a support. Price broke below, price came to retest. And then as we can see here, price so far is holding under this area. Okay, let's move to the daily time frame. Okay, we can see right now that here inside this yellow zone, we have another green zone, which means like this area here, okay, this one here, it's very strong area, right? Because it's kind of two zones, I mean like the yellow one and the green one in this area, right? So as we can see here, to support, price below, and so far didn't come to retest it as resistance so far. And this is what I would expect maybe this week, that maybe we can see price coming to this area here, and then from here we can see price to move below, if any, right? It's very good to keep that in mind. Okay, so this is when it comes to this chart. So what we think it might happen, okay, that the price might come here and then we start to see price declining. That's one scenario, right? But obviously we need to keep in mind that tomorrow we have big news. Actually, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow we have a lot of news about the US dollar, right? Okay, let's go to this chart, which I shared on Instagram some time ago. Like we had this one here, and I said that so far here, okay, maybe let me find it here. Yeah. So on the 4-hour time frame, I said that we have the left shoulder here, the head, and the right shoulder was here. And I said that so far, okay, I believe I put that on Instagram 2 weeks ago, that we have here this right shoulder, we have here resistance, and I said if we will see the price decline, okay, at least price will come above to take the liquidation above this high, and then move lower. And this is what exactly happened. You can check those videos which I put on Instagram 2 weeks ago, right? Okay, good. So right now we can see that this part is completed. And if we look at still at the head and shoulder, so here we have, let's say, the neckline, if you want to name it that way, okay, and the price broke below it. Good. Now, the only thing which I think might be concerning is this gap here, okay? Maybe right now we can see that the price might come to this area, especially if we put the Fibonacci extensions. We can see, excuse me, we can see that here this area is a 78.6%, which increasing the probability that the price might come here, okay, might come here, and then from here we might see price declining, if any. Okay, what actually increasing the probability of this is, number one, we have this area here. Let's go to the daily time frame. We have this area here which is like yellow one. Here, resistance, resistance, resistance. Price broke above, and since price broke above, as you can see, price didn't come to retest it as support. So that's number one. Number two, even if we look at the Fibonacci extension, right? So here we have the first, let's say, take profit area, which is a minus 27%, which is aligning perfectly with this area as well, right? So usually with every line, with every, let's say, level you see on the charts, okay, this is where I teach it to the guys in the community, these are very strong levels, right? Usually when the price break above or below these levels, price come to retest it, right? So far here, as I said, like price, we have resistance, 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 price broke above and didn't come to retest as a support so far, which is aligning, as I said, with the 27% of the Fibonacci. So that kind of like says, okay, if the price will come here to fulfill this gap, then there is a very big probability that from here we will see price at least come to check this area or to retest it this time as a support, if that will happen, right? At the end of the day, as a forex trader, you need to keep in mind that everything is happening, like, you know, you have to have a lot of scenarios, right? Like if, then if this will happen, it means that, you know, and if it will not happen, so then we move to the another scenario, right? You cannot be like fixed only on one scenario and just like working on it. You have to have multiple scenarios. You have to be flexible in the market in order to really be able, let's say, to maneuver the moves and also to capitalize on every move happening in the market, right? To be more precise, not definitely every move, because you cannot capitalize on every move, okay, but let's say on most of the moves you are going to be part of, okay? So this is when it comes to this chart. Let's go to this one. It's also I put it, this one I start to put it on, I would say in September, so we talk about 2 months ago. I started to put this chart on Instagram and I was talking about it. What I was saying basically here, that usually we could see that we are in a range since December 2022. What do we know about ranges? That there are always fake outs. Good, that's number one. Number two, that when there is a fake out in one side, most probably that there will be another fake out in the other side with the exact or very similar, let's say, volume and size. What does it mean? Okay, let's go to the weekly time frame. And let me remove this from weekly time frame. Okay, so first thing first, okay? So as you can see here on the range, let's say that we have this level here, okay, which is support, support. What happened then? Usually when there is a perfect double top or double bottom, that means that above this double top or below this double bottom, there is a lot of liquidity, a lot of stop losses here. Imagine how many, let's say, traders, okay, they were kind of having, okay, here, double top, okay, according to this book or to this course, okay, perfect. I'm going to buy from here and the stop loss is down below. what usually happen, and this is part of the market psychology, that you will see that price will bounce a bit and then come to collect all stop losses under these 2 points, and then after that price will start to move higher, right? And this is what happened. And then let's go to the chart here. Okay, here in this move, I told to the guys in the community, if this move happen here, we need to keep in mind that usually after the double top or double bottom, we have the fake out, right? And that's why if you don't trade it, if you don't capitalize on it, at least by understanding that, you are not going to lose money in the market, which is very, very, very important, as much as simply making money in the market, okay? So this is also a thing to keep in mind. Okay, here I use this, let's say, price tool and calculated that we have like 1,246 pips, let's say, fake out here, okay? And then I put exactly the other side, and as we can see, so far what happened, price came 1,255 pips to the other side, right? And then what happened, price broke below and back to the range again. If we see fake out here, most probably we are going to see fake out to the other side, okay? And if we look at the weekly time frame, what happened here, doji, 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 let's call it doji right now, and then what happened, price broke in the weekly time frame back again to the range. What do we expect? That maybe from here we will start to see price declining, okay? Definitely it was also good to see that the last week price came, and so far we could see that this area right now, it's a level of resistance. Here it was support, 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 price broke below, now it's resistance. It will be also very important to see this weekly candle. If we will start to see this candle, let's say, start to do decline, then we will know that later on we will start to see price declining further in the medium and short term. Okay, I'm sorry, in the medium and long term. Okay, so this is one thing also to keep in mind, and this is kind of increasing the probability that from here we will start to see the price declining, as I talked about, right? So as I said here, let's go to the weekly time frame. Okay, so here we have, what do we have here? Let me remove this. We talked about it already. Okay, and let's remove this as well. Okay, so in the weekly time frame, we have first touch. On the 4 hours time frame, we have the first touch of the trend line, second touch of the trend line, third touch of the trend line, and then what happened? Price started to move a little bit up, and then price started to simply go down and collect all the stop losses here. Why? Because according to all books and according to, let's say, all courses, that they say the third touch of the trend line is the strongest touch, right? Okay, that's correct, but when you understand how does it work, here we have the first touch of the trend line, here we have second touch of the trend line, and then here we have the third touch of the trend line. Usually what happens, you will see that price will start from the third touch according to all books, and all the retail traders unfortunately lose a lot of money here, because according to all books they start to say, okay, here we could see, let's say, this, you want to call it, I don't know, doji, you want to call it like, you know, pin bar. Well, you have it here, and then this is a good sign that the price will continue moving higher. But by keeping in mind that that might be a fake one, usually price come and then liquidate. So most of retail trader come from here and they have their orders, let's say, when they see this move up. Okay, let me remove this. When they see this candle, so then they say, okay, we are going to buy. Okay, it's very good rejection, let's say, even on the 1 hour time frame. You see, on the 1 hour time frame, you can see very nice rejection. So they start to say, okay, we are going to buy from here at stop loss down below here. What happened? Then price come and collect all these stop losses. Okay, so this is very good and important to understand. Okay, as I said, first, second, and third touch. And now we can see here that we have this also touch. What usually happen? Price come to liquidated. Okay, as we can see here, what happened? Price came below this one and then started to move up higher again. Can you imagine how many stop losses were collected here? This is also very important to understand how does it work, so simply you can avoid such situations. But coming back to what we have been discussing, simply this area is very important area right now. Okay, simply we want to see is price from here start to declining, but as I said, keeping in mind that we have news tomorrow, so what we can see happening first, that the price from here will start to come here to simply cover this gap. Okay, and from here we can start to see price to decline, if any, which usually can come here later, right? And this is the area which I said, when we look at it, it's simply, as we can see, this area, the yellow one here is this gray one here, which is simply here later on. It's this one later down here. Okay, so this is so far what I'm looking at for the dollar index for this week. And definitely based on that, we can work on the other scenarios in the market. What does it mean? Definitely, as we know, when the dollar index is moving up, so then it means gold moving down, it means EURUSD moving down, GBPUSD moving down, or any currency pair which has a dollar, simply part of it, it's moving down, and vice versa. What does it mean? If the US dollar is moving down, so it means gold is up, EURUSD up, GBPUSD up, etc., right? So this is just a quick one for this week, and in this video I'm just discussing about the DXY, but if you want a full market analysis of the dollar index, US oil, gold, EURUSD, GBPUSD, GBP, GBY, Euro, Australian dollar, US dollar, New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and USDCAD, if you want a full market analysis, so this is what simply I provide to my clients in the community. Feel free to just write me and I will give you all details if you would like to join the community. Thanks guys, and I wish you a successful week in the market. Cheers.